The last time we left Winnie the Pooh, Rabbit and Christopher Robin were having a discussion about how they would recognize when they finally made it to the North Pole and know exactly what they were looking for. They came up with the idea of, I suppose it's just a pole stuck in the ground. Oh, sure to be a pole, said Rabbit, because of calling a pole, and if it's a pole, well, I should think it would be sticking in the ground, shouldn't you? Because there'd be nowhere else to stick it. Yes, that's what I thought. The only thing, said Rabbit, is where is it sticking? That's what we're looking for, said Christopher Robin. They went back to the others. Piglet was lying on his back, sleeping peacefully, and Roo was washing his face and paws in the stream, while Kanga explained to everybody proudly that this was the first time he had ever washed his face himself. Owl was telling Kanga an interesting anecdote full of long words like encyclopedia and rhododendron, to which Kanga wasn't listening. I don't hold with all this washing, grumbled Eeyore. This modern behind-the-ears nonsense. What do you think, Pooh? Well, said Pooh, I think... But we shall never know what Pooh thought, for there came a sudden squeak from Roo, a splash, and a loud cry of alarm from Kanga. So much for washing, said Eeyore. Roo's fallen in, cried Rabbit, and he and Christopher Robin came rushing down to the rescue. Look at me swimming, squeaked Roo from the middle of the pool, and was hurried down a waterfall into the next pool. Are you all right, Roo dear? Called Kanga anxiously. Yes, said Roo. Look at me and down he went over the next waterfall into another pool, and everybody was doing something to help. Piglet, wide awake suddenly, was jumping up and down and making, oh, I say, noises. Owl was complaining in case of a sudden and temporary immersion. The important thing was to keep the head above water. Kanga was jumping along the bank, saying, Are you all right? Are you sure you're all right, Roo dear? To which Roo, from whatever pool he was in at the moment, was answering, Look at me swimming! Eeyore had turned around and hung his tail over the first pool into which Roo fell, and with his back to the accident was grumbling quietly to himself, saying, All this washing, but catch on to my tail, little Roo, and you will be all right. And Christopher Robin and Rabbit came hurrying just past Eeyore and were calling out to the others in front of them. All right, Roo, I'm coming, called Christopher Robin. It's very silly, all the different things they're trying to do. Get something across the stream, lower down. Some of you fellows called Rabbit, but Pooh was getting something. 2 pools below Roo, he was standing with a long pole in his paws, and Kanga came up and took one end of it, and between them they held it across the lower part of the pool. And Roo, still bubbling proudly, Look at me swaying, drifted up against it and climbed out. Did you see me swimming? Squeaked Roo excitedly, while Kanga scolded him and rubbed him down. Pooh, did you see me swimming? That's called swimming. That's what I was doing. Rabbit, did you see what I was doing? Swimming. Hello, Piglet. I say, Piglet, what do you think I was doing? Swimming? Christopher Robin, did you see me? But Christopher Robin wasn't listening. He was looking at Pooh. Pooh, he said, where did you find that pole? Pooh looked at the pole in his hands. Sorry. I just found it, he said. I thought I ought to be useful, and I just picked it up. Pooh, said Christopher Robin solemnly, the expedition is over. You have found the North Pole. Oh, said Pooh. Eeyore was sitting with his tail in the water when they all got back to him. Tell Roo to be quick, somebody, he said. My tail's getting cold. I don't want to mention it, but I just mention it. I don't want to complain, but there it is. My tail's cold. Here I am, squeaked Roo. Oh, there you are. Did you see me swimming? Eeyore took his tail out of the water and swished it from side to side. As I expected, he said. Lost all feeling. Numbed it. That's what it's done. Numbed it. Well, as long as nobody minds, I suppose it's all right. Poor old Eeyore. I'll dry it for you, said Christopher Robin. And he took out his handkerchief and rubbed it. Thank you, Christopher Robin. You're the only one who seems to understand about tails. They don't think. That's what's the matter with some of these others. They've no imagination. A tail isn't a tail to them. It's just a little bit of extra at the back. Never mind, Eeyore, said Christopher Robin, rubbing his hardest. Is that better? It's feeling more like a tail, perhaps. It belongs again, if you know what I mean. Hello, Eeyore, said Pooh, coming up to them with his pole. Hello, Pooh. Thank you for asking, but I shall be able to use it again in a day or two. Use what? Said Pooh. What we were talking about. I wasn't talking about anything, said Pooh, looking puzzled. My mistake again. I thought you were saying how sorry you were about my tail being all numb. And could you do anything to help? No, said Pooh, that wasn't me, he said. He thought for a little and then suggested helpfully, perhaps it was somebody else. Well, thank him for me when you see him. Pooh looked anxiously at Christopher Robin. Pooh's found the North Pole, said Christopher Robin. Isn't it lovely? Pooh looked modestly down. Is that it? Said Eeyore. Yes, said Christopher Robin. Is that what we're looking for? Yes, said Pooh. Oh, said Eeyore. Well, anyhow, it didn't rain. And they stuck the pole in the ground, and Christopher Robin tied a message to it. North Pole discovered by Pooh. Pooh found it. Then they all went home again. And I think, but I am not quite sure, that Roo had a hot bath and went straight to bed. But Pooh went back to his own house, and feeling very proud of himself of what he had done, had a little something to revive himself. What a fun chapter. Lots of silly little antics, and the characters in this story make lots of funny decisions and comments, but they all seem to work together somehow and find a way in the end.